What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Opinions Vary. That's Opinions with an A. Please like, share, and subscribe. And in this video, we're going to take a look at the latest media hoax of the boy who cried wolf when it comes to something Donald Trump said. They are actually saying that he wants Liz Cheney executed via firing squad, which is not what he said. And we'll watch this together, and I'll comment along the way.
You know you're 4 days out from an election when the truth just stops mattering. Some of the liberal and legacy media are going after President Trump, calling his latest remarks about former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, quote unquote, violent rhetoric. Here is what former President Trump said about Liz Cheney.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
So obviously right there is what he's saying to any normal person who, you know, who's the least bit objective with a shred of common sense, is that it's easy to send other people off to war to fight and get killed or get maimed when you don't have to do it yourself. That's what he's saying. As we know, Trump is anti-war. He was against the Iraq war way back when it happened. He's been consistent all the way through with that. And what he's saying is, you know, people like Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney and the rest of the neocons have no problem sending Americans to die in wars where nobody can even understand why we're there in the first place. You know, it's easy to send them to get killed when you don't have to go. So he's consistent. He doesn't want to go to war himself, and he doesn't want to send our troops to war unless it's absolutely 100% necessary and in the United States' best interest. And he'll also send them with an objective to win, something that these neocons and Democrats could care less about at this point.
Ms. Cheney responded on social media with this. This is how dictators destroy free nations. They threaten those who speak against them with death. We cannot entrust our country and our freedom to a petty, vindictive, cruel, unstable man who wants to be a tyrant.
Completely dishonest. That's a complete lie. And coming out of her mouth with her father, let me tell you something. My mother is a lifelong Democrat. She can't stand the Cheneys. Can't stand them. Probably hates the Cheneys worse than any Republican hates the Cheneys. And even now, when they've been embraced by Kamala Harris, which is a joke. The Cheneys, nobody likes them. Nobody. They're disgusting. Dick Cheney could probably, in a serious country, be brought up on charges for what he lied about with the Iraq war when it came to the weapons of mass destruction. The amount of people that were killed and maimed and lives forever ruined. It's incredible, the blood that is on that man's hands. And Liz Cheney is the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Let's put it that way. And hashtag women will not be silenced. What does that have to do with anything? Women will not be silenced. Your whole response is a lie. It's completely out of context. It's dishonest, and you're a disgrace.
And the legacy media also quick with reactions in these headlines. CNN, Trump says Cheney should be fired upon an escalation of violent rhetoric against his opponents.
Lie.
Washington Post, Trump suggests war hawk Liz Cheney should have guns trained on her face. New York Times, Trump attacks Liz Cheney using violent war imagery. And Rolling Stone said this, Trump fantasizes about putting Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad.
That might be the most ridiculous one of all, but it's Rolling Stone, so what else would you expect?
Now the Trump campaign is responding. Here's a quote. President Trump is 100% correct that warmongers like Liz Cheney are very quick to start wars and send other Americans to fight them rather than go into combat themselves.
Bingo. That's it. Now, could he have clarified that maybe a little better at the end of his statement? Maybe. But like I said, he talks like normal people have a conversation where normal people would understand the context and the nuance he was using. That's normal people. These people that we're talking about right now, the media, Liz Cheney, they're not normal. There's something wrong with them. There's something that snapped in them about 8 years ago now when this man came down the escalator.
This is the continuation of the latest fake media outrage days before the election in a blatant attempt to interfere on behalf of Kamala Harris.
I'll go as far as say it's to get Kamala Harris elected, not even to fear. This isn't even, oh, we're trying to get her elected. That's the bottom line. It's not even debatable at this point. And if you have a shred of objectivity and a shred of common sense, you know that's true.
Charlie Hurt.
Well, I think you said it, Harris. This is kind of the silly season. This is where the truth doesn't matter. It's an obvious distortion of what Donald Trump was saying. And I think it's kind of interesting. He doesn't actually get credit for one of the most significant things he's done within the Republican Party, which is to drag the Republican Party from being the party of global intervention and wars into a party that believes in being very powerful and terrifying our enemies, but using power very judiciously. And obviously he was attacking her on those grounds. But I also think that at the same time, it's also not part of the campaign's closing argument is not Liz Cheney. The closing argument is the border and the economy. But Donald Trump doesn't do things the way normal campaigns do, and he's been very successful at that. But I wish we would just sort of talk about the economy and the border.
What's he not allowed to have a conversation with Tucker Carlson because they're going to pick something he says? He could talk about the economy and the border. He does that. He does it all the time. I didn't see the whole thing with Tucker Carlson, but I'm sure he did it then in that conversation. But is that all he's supposed to talk about? He can't talk about anything else without these clowns taking something he said and twisting it into a pretzel to make him look like he said he wants to have her killed? So, Charlie Hurt, that's why sometimes Republicans, conservatives, you notice how Trump in that statement, there's no apology. There was no apologizing for what he said. That's the way you do it. You don't apologize. Because guess what? They're not going to forgive you anyway. They're just going to use your apology against you.
And crime.
Or the gift that they got handed.
Yes, and they were trying to change the subject. Democrats want to change the subject from the garbage comment to something else, and this is what came along.
Yeah.
They're going to change it to anything. They're going to find something he says in every engagement he has from now to the election. They're going to find something he says and try to change it around. It's unavoidable. We all know it. It is what it is.
He's created another shiny object. But regardless of all of that, they're blowing out of proportion his words if you just take the words versus the context of that.
Absolutely, Harris. I want to have a word about the media, to your point exactly. Look, CNN at 11:18 a.m. had a chyron up, and this is what the chyron said. Liz Cheney slams Trump after he calls for her to be shot. Okay.
CNN should be taken off the air. They're not, they need to be not classified as a news network anymore, and you can stay on the air. I don't like censorship, but this isn't a news network. Just on that chyron, he did not call for her to be shot. That is completely dishonest. Anybody knows that is not at all what he said. CNN should not be a news network. They want to stay on as a tabloid, as the National Enquirer on TV. That's fine. This is not a news network.
We all heard the statement. Nowhere does he call for her to be shot. That is a defamatory chyron, but if you're walking through an airport and you cursorily read that, you think that's what he said. If you listen to what he said in context, it's very clear what he said. He said, what if the shoe were on the other foot? And it wasn't us sending your boys and girls to war, but our politicians were going to war. How would they feel if their life was threatened? Would they take those decisions way more seriously? And it made total sense to me because this is at Donald Trump's core. If you know him, if you've observed him for 8 years, one of the cornerstones of his policy is something he said on Wednesday, and it stood out to me. He said Wednesday, they've sent our blood and treasure to fight in stupid foreign wars where the countries don't even know who we are and we've never heard of the countries. He views your son, your daughter as a treasure. And when it's taken lightheartedly and sent off to war, that's why he was such a critic of the Iraq War, he takes that personally. What if the shoe were on the other foot? That is all he was trying to say.
That's why she's the best press secretary there ever was. And if he does get reelected, I'd try to bring her back, even though he probably can't pay her as well as she's getting paid on Fox News.
To your point, Kaylee, that his comments were coming with the nuance and the wisdom of a former president. This is someone who said, Our blood and treasure does not occur without a human making the decision, a commander-in-chief, a Congress to approve the funding for that to happen. It was coming from, in my opinion, a position of appreciation of the depth of the import of the weight of sending our troops to war, to combat, to deployment. And so the fact that, as always, the media chops it up, amputates it, distorts it, and then puts it, what can fit in the 120 characters on a chyron, to me, it's such a disservice to the American people and to a president that was actually speaking very, very crucially about the nuance, about the weight of those decisions, and about the humanity required to make those decisions. But as always, they're grasping, yes, for the shiny object. Let's get the turn out of the garbage, trying to save themselves, trying to demonize him yet again. But if you just give it more than 10 seconds, more than a glance at a screen, you're going to see that it was actually full of totally poignant, important perspective.
That's why Donald Trump was right not to do the 60 Minutes interview. You saw how they chopped that interview up with Kamala Harris and inserted an answer in that wasn't an actual answer to the question. They would have done, they did that to make her look better. They would have done everything they could to make him look awful. That's why he was 100% right not to do that interview. His instincts were right once again.
You know, Tommy, it has been a criticism of people on the left, leadership on the left, that they reflexively get us deeper into wars. I mean, look at Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's watch for the last 3.5, nearly 4 years.
This is going to be a weak spot for Kamala Harris and her campaign, whether it's those folks in Michigan that are not happy with the way that she's handled things with Israel and the way that she's spoken about it, or, you know, spending the amount of money we're spending in Ukraine. People are tired of endless wars, and Donald Trump delivered no new wars. People know that. They understand that. But beyond this, to the point about the new shiny object and the way that they're exploiting this, I don't think it's going to work anymore, because when the media cries wolf so many times, even your casual person who's walking across a TV and sees the chyron, I think they've cried wolf about Trump so many times. They've likened him to Hitler. Trump supporters are Nazis.
So
they're
true.
Garbage. They're racist. They're misogynist. He's going to put you in camps. He's going to break up interracial marriages, which is something Whoopi Goldberg alluded to on The View. Once you say that over and over and over again, I think people look at this, even people that are just normal, casual viewers and don't really indulge in politics like we do, they've cried wolf so many times, I think they see it and they go, you know, there's a pretty good chance they're taking this out of context.
Completely agree. She's 100% right. And the best part was when she said normal people, because it's normal people. And most of the people in this country are normal. There is a faction that is not, and we know that.
On the other hand, you cannot take out of context what Joe Biden said about garbage. That lives, and even we're going to talk about it later, even though they tried to mess with the transcript, that is what it is.
They did mess with the transcript. They
Mark
didn't just
Cuban
try.
calling the women around Trump weak and dumb. You really can't take those comments out of context, and even when they try to clarify them, it doesn't look any better. So I think you cry wolf this many times, people don't believe you anymore.
And you really can't take out of context their record. Just look at the record.
Right.
True. Their record is what it is. It speaks for itself. It's terrible. So there you go. I mean, this is a really amazing one. How he said they make it seem like he says that he wants her shot. I mean, come on. But people watch it. People watch CNN. They'll watch MSNBC, and they'll be like, "Oh, Trump said again. He's so terrible. Oh my God, we can't elect this dictator." But you know what? I don't think these stories that they're doing, these last gasps to try to help Kamala Harris, I don't think they're going to move the needle. I really don't. And it's like I don't think that Biden's garbage comment is going to move the needle, really. I really don't. Maybe it'll energize people to get out and vote more. But all this stuff they're doing with Trump now, with the comedian that told the joke at the rally and this, and there'll be another one before, you know, the one with I'm going to protect women, and now this one, and there'll be another one. There'll be another one, maybe two more before Tuesday. I don't think it's doing anything. I really don't. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. That's my opinion. Give me yours. All right? I really appreciate you watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Continue following me at Opinions Vary.